I'm actually not that fond of penguins. Frank, I'm that you are having a great day, and in today's video, convention report. I went to SCG Con Baltimore for the day, hung out with somebody else who wanted to go to participate in a Flesh and Blood Classic Constructed. I think it was a Pro Tour invite event, something like that. They wanted to go and they asked me if I would go with them just so they could have someone tag along, and I agreed, and I spent 99% of my time there just kind of milling about aimlessly, looking at the various vendors, looking at some of the games being played, talking to some people, etc. Didn't really do a whole lot there myself, if I'm being perfectly honest. In fact, I think I spent like a solid 45 minutes just sitting in the hallway outside just playing games. It is what it is. I didn't really go there with any intention or a plan, so it was just kind of a hangout day, you know? But one thing I did do there, besides pick up this Dragon Lord sorcery box, and don't worry, this is a future video, I'll be talking about that at some point, was I tried out some new games while I was there. And one of them is the subject of today's video. It's called Vibes. And boy howdy, was this an interesting experience. So first off, let me start by explaining that Vibes is a extremely casual penguin-themed game by, I think it's Orange Cat Games is the company producing it. So feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, but I could have sworn that was the name I heard. And, you know, I'm a very firm believer that if someone gives you the chance to try something new, you should at least try it, see if you like it. So when I'm at a convention, someone says, hey, do you want to hop in on a tournament here and learn the game? My answer is yes. But let me tell you, I think I've played a lot of games in my life, okay? I have played plenty of games since the year 2002, when I first, 2002, 2004, something like that, when I first got into Yu-Gi-Oh! And never before have I sat down with a very small group of people and everybody else I was sitting with was just strangely into the game we were playing that day. Everybody at the event for Vibes was very enthusiastic about the game. They all seemed to love it. They all seemed to have an extremely positive opinion towards it. They were all talking about how much they liked it, and there was even other guys at the event with me who had never played it before, and they all seemed super happy. So the first words going through my brain when I was sitting down there playing the game with these other guys was, is this a cult? Have I accidentally joined a cult of penguin lovers? But let's talk about the game itself. You know, all jokes aside, because, you know, I think it is nice to be enthusiastic and super positive about a game you enjoy. Vibes is a very simple back and forth game with you and an opponent. The objective of the game is to control, I think it's called the boss token, and you win by controlling the boss and having 15 or more permanent cards in play. That is your rods and your penguins all together. What are rods and what are penguins? Rods are the resources of the game, and a card can be played as a rod. You play one rod per turn. Penguins are the permanent creatures of the game, and they, A, pay for actions by generating, I think it's called huddle points. I should have kept a rulebook or something. Ah, well. I should have asked for a rulebook. They generate points which let you play action cards. And they are also needed to, after all your penguins are played and all your actions are played during the action phase, the penguins are needed to resolve a vibe check. Let's try that again. Yeah, the gameplay is very simple, back and forth. You play a card if you are the person who controls the boss. You play a card, a rod, one rod per turn. Then you play penguins with rods, just like lands in Magic the Gathering, actually. They have costs, and they come into play, and you can play as many of them per turn as you have rods to cast them with, right? Then your opponent goes. This is a shared turn, sort of. Your opponent plays his rod, tries to summon his penguins. Then you have a joint action phase. And then after playing your action cards, then there is the vibe check, where the player with the biggest vibe penguin in play wins the loyalty of the boss and succeeds the vibe check. Yeah, that's basically the gameplay loop. It is a very I forgot to mention, at the end of the vibe check, the guy who wins the vibe check gets a free rod from the top of their deck into play, a free extra resource, and the loser draws a card for free before the start of the next turn, where players draw again. So there's an interesting back and forth there, too. Is it more beneficial to get the free rod for winning the boss, or is it more beneficial to get more cards in hand because you lost? That's an interesting dynamic I think you could think about. Overall, the handful of games I played, because I only did play a handful of games, it felt very simple, very easy to get into, with only like 10 minutes of having someone explain the rules to me and give me a demo game. I had a pretty decent idea of what I was doing. I still made some mistakes during the actual gameplay itself, but that's just because I'm a stupid person. But overall, I felt like it was a very easy game to get into with some cutesy art. I'm going to show some of the cards here, because the penguins themselves, they do look kind of adorable. They give me some Neopets / Club Penguin vibes, you know, those early internet flash games that really does feel like that. But overall, I feel like this is more of a, I definitely feel like this game is definitely targeted towards a younger audience, and its core gameplay reflects that in its simplicity. And while I do think, I will say, I do think that this is an enjoyable game to play with the bros for a, you know, maybe a one-off thing, like, hey guys, you want to play the penguin card game? You know, I do think that's definitely something you could do with the guys. I don't know, something about it just feels off, and I can't put it into words because maybe I just have to experience it a bit more, but something about it, either it was the card quality itself or the just overall vibes of the game. I don't know, something felt off, and I don't feel myself being very confident in this game going forward. It doesn't look like, like Flesh and Blood. It doesn't feel like Flesh and Blood, and it doesn't feel like Neopets. It doesn't feel like Sorcerer, where I think that those games have a lot of potential staying power for the long term. This one just felt kind of muted. There was a very small presence of it at the event. Besides me, there was a small group of people playing, which is not bad. I will never decry a game for having a small fan base, because, as you know, some of my favorite games have very small fan bases. But I do think it just felt weird playing it. Although I will say, again, the people who were playing it were very passionate about it. They all seemed to really like it. And I can definitely see why someone might like it. It's very simple in gameplay to get into. But there's definitely a higher skill ceiling than I'm capable of achieving, just because there are nice combos with the cards, some interesting back and forth gameplay going on. Watching games is definitely more interesting for me than playing the games, because, again, I am not great at picking up card games. Maybe I'm in the wrong hobby. Maybe I should not be trying to play these card games if I'm so bad at all of them. But I digress. It looks good. It plays smooth. And it's definitely an interesting, unique IP. There's no combat. There's no instants and sorceries and such like that. There's just, you play your penguins, your opponent plays the penguins, you do some actions with them, and you try to have the biggest, fluffiest penguin in play by the time the vibe check comes around. And ultimately, it's a simple game, very enjoyable, but I don't think it's anything more than that. Just an enjoyable little game you can play with the guys on an afternoon, It definitely has some collectability. It does have some neat-looking foils that I saw while I was at SCG Con. So there's nice. I don't know what sites it's sold on. I don't think it's on TCG Player. I don't think I saw it on eBay either. So overall, this is my kind of preliminary video, just talking about the card game in general, because, while I did play it, I do have some thoughts on it. I don't have a in-depth analysis for you, and I haven't picked up a box of it to crack open yet, so at some point in the future, I will play more of the game for you guys just to give a more concrete build of my thoughts. But for now, what I will reiterate is that it seems fun, it seems like an easy game to get into, and it seems like a good way to kill like a half hour, 45 minutes in between doing something else with the guys. So if you're looking for a very easy game to get into, there you go. Vibes is definitely a name, but it's also a card game that I think, might be worth checking out. Overall, preliminary, if I was to rate it as a card game, I give it like a 6 out of 10. It is easy to get into. The gameplay is nice back and forth, but it doesn't really seem to have that wow factor that a lot of other card games on the market have right now. And something about it just, I don't know, but something about it says it's not going to be around very long. I hope I'm wrong, though. I do genuinely... I've gotten comments on the channel where people seem to be under the impression that I'm, like, against card games and I want them to fail. I don't want card games to fail. I want every card game that I play to be successful and to find its own niche and to find its own dedicated fan base. It's just, I feel like some of the card games I talk about aren't long for this world, and I just feel like saying that. So I just want to put it out there that I don't want card games to fail. I just sometimes feel like they will. So that's all I wanted to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Have you tried Vibes? Have you played the Vibe Check game? If so, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. I forgot to mention the card game has its own dedicated Discord if you want to learn more.